We're currently trying to get the frog. So before we do this, hey Coach Ryan, I was told we have to show the frog. So this is Maartje's prize for coming in fourth at Rocky Raccoon 100. We're not quite sure why it's a frog, but so we're not quite sure why it's a frog. But
it's a froggy.
It has a name.
Rocky Raccoon.
Froggy Raccoon. The looks she got in the airport were pretty intense, but she's very, very happy. And wherever you're going to see Maartje go in the years, the frog's going to be there. Hey everyone, it's Coach Ryan Knapp here, and I have no clue what episode this is of Hey Coach Ryan. I am joined today in the first ever live episode of Hey Coach Ryan by our Miles to Go teammate. Who are you?
I am Maartje Bastings.
We'll have a pronunciation contest later after this. And Maartje is part of Miles to Go, and we're talking today as we're on our way home from the Rocky Raccoon 100, where she came in fourth place in her debut 100, running a time of 20:03. Do you remember the
51.
20:03:51. And as we sat here on the plane on the way home, we were just talking about the race, and she gave so many great insights that I wanted to be able to share with all of you. So I said, okay, I'm pulling out the camera and we're recording this. So what are you feeling now after the race, after your debut 100?
Intense satisfaction and like proudness. I'm glad I can move again. Like yesterday was not pretty. Like Ryan had to carry me out of the car into the hotel room. So as of this morning, that went a lot better, which makes flying a lot better. But the pain was worth it. I don't think I've ever had that much pain in my legs before, after a race that is. I'm just super happy that all the training just worked. It was just beyond expectations, like how the race went.
And the interesting thing is, so we started working together. Do you remember when it was? What month? September. So yeah, right before Run Rabbit. It was like early in September, right before.
Like at the 50K race of Tark.
Yeah, so it was right.
That was the first weekend.
Yeah, so the backstory. Well, I met Maartje at a camp here, and we started working together. And then I called her in the morning right before my 100-miler and said, "Can you fly out?" And so flew out, and she paced me through that.
Can you be in Logan in 2 hours?
Yeah, can you be in Logan in 4 hours and fly to Colorado? Sure, and that's what ended up happening. But training went super well for this, and she asked me to come down and be a part of it, and I was so excited about it. And it's when we're doing this, I don't want it to be like, this is what happened in Loop 1 and Loop 2 and Loop 3, but she just gave so many awesome insights about the race and how it happened. And one of the things that we were talking about was the mental side of it. So how do you feel that the physical training helped you feel mentally prepared for the race? Like we were kind of talking about it in the car, right? You're like, I'm not really like, how did you feel before the race, and how do you think that your dedication to training made you feel that way?
Yeah. So we've been training since September for this, and I don't think, except from being in the ER after hitting my car, I haven't missed any days of training. Like training has been like spot on, and we've been building up a ton of miles a week, building to like, I think I have like 600 plus mile weeks in there, and everything just went really well. Like I felt I was getting stronger, I was getting fitter, like, just mainly like we have some turbulence here. I noticed that just my endurance was getting so much bigger. Like after doing back-to-back long runs and weekends, I just felt great after, and I had so many test weekends with long runs where I just got so confident, and just confidence boosters for Rocky, that going in, flying out like last Thursday, I just felt ready for it. And knowing that my training, I couldn't have, there was no way I could have been in a better physical state than I was. So I was just super relaxed mentally leading up to the start. I had zero nerves. I was just relaxed and confident. And I had a smiley face on my hand, but I had like just one goal for the race, to just have fun and just run my own race, run smart, and have fun, and just see where that would bring me. And knowing I was just in the best possible physical shape, I just had confidence in that. So mentally, I had confidence that I would be able to do it.
Yeah.
And that just there was no worry there, so I wasn't like wasting energy and stressing out on, oh, I don't know if did I do enough, I was in control. I felt in control, and that was probably mentally the biggest thing. Like I was ready, I was relaxed, and I was in control.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing too. I know in some of so Chris Benjamin, another guy that I coach, I remember before even Badwater and before a lot of the hundreds I've been lucky to go out and pace in Kurumat, he's just like, it's another day tomorrow, like it's another run. And for so many people that talk about the mental side of training and how important it is, the physical training brings the mental side, brings that control aspect in. There's certain things that you can't control in a race if something were to happen, but to know that you put in the work you needed to physically, mentally, that makes you so much more prepared than in situations where I've seen people not put in the work physically, and then mentally you're scared because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you get worried, you get insecure, and then you're like, oh, and then you just fail, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't expect to ace an exam if you don't do the homework.
Yeah.
And that's the same, like you can't expect to have a good race if you don't do your training.
Yeah.
So I think in the month of January I ran like 470 miles or something.
Yeah.
And leading up in December and January, we had such a great build up, and I was responding to all the miles and trainings, and I did the homework. That's exactly, I did the homework and I did the test. And the trainings were so much harder because you push yourself harder, you're not tapered. You go through any weather, you go to... I had a run, like a 3-hour run at 6 a.m. in the morning in pouring rain, in cold rain, and I was like, this is what it is, like suck it up and do it. And you know what race day will bring. So if you train through the worst conditions, like you can handle whatever comes at race day.
Yeah.
So you do your homework in the worst possible conditions, and then the test is easy. Yeah. Sort of. I mean, it's 100 miles, right. But you can handle a lot.
Yeah.
You're strong. So.
And it's something that I always seem to fly in the face of with coaching when people just say, like, it's all mental. And, like, I really think that you have to have physical preparation in order for you to be able to look at the mental side of it. There are some people that can go out as anomalies and run races on, like, no training and these sorts of things, but if you look at everything's a bell curve in life, right? You have anomalies here, and then you have everyone, and then you have anomalies here. We need to look at the curve, and those people that fall within that need to put in the physical training in order to be able to look at the mental side and say, okay, I need to access this sort of mental reserve or access this fortitude that I have to get through the race. Because if your legs can't handle it, it doesn't matter. Like,
the funny thing is, it's still mental, but like the race ended up being really mentally controlled for me, but after being physically able to run it, and then it's mental. Like, it's not 90% mental and 10% physical. It's like only that only holds if you're physically able to do it.
Yeah.
And then I definitely was a mental race, like Saturday.
Yeah.
But controlled by my physical abilities.
Yep.
Because maybe we come to that, but how it ended, I would not.
Yeah.
You have to be physically able to do that.
Yep.
So we raced the last.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do, like I said, is talk a little about the race as a whole. And the big thing, the first, I guess I can ask too, like, so you wanted to go out and you wanted to have fun and run your own race. So how did you run your own race? Did you have fun? And then walk us through kind of the part, we know what we're talking about, but walk us through kind of that part where mentally you had to kind of access that, because physically you were fine. Some things happened. So kind of walk us through how it felt, like did you have fun? Did you do that? And then walk us through the back end of the race, which is really what I think people will learn a lot from, and I will always remember.
Yeah. So Rocky Raccoon, for who doesn't know it, is 5 laps of 20 miles, and aid stations are pretty nicely spread, except from one. It's called Damnation. It's a pretty nice wordplay, which is a 7-mile loop in like just no man's land. It's just far out. There's no one there. Just a timing mat halfway, so you can't cheat on anything if you do that. and then you go like a long stretch back. So the first 3 laps, like, I was having fun. I was running with people. The first hours in the dark, you start the first 4, like Ian Sherman and Nicole Studer and Sabrina Little and the guy that I forget the name of, Paul Turner. They took off like crazy fast. So from the gun, they just disappeared. We like saw them for 2 seconds and they were gone. And then there was like a group of me with some guys that just like rolled into a 10-minute pace and just hold that with a group for like the first hour until sunrise. And with the routes and just headlamps, it's really tricky to, and it's the start, so you don't want to start too fast. So we're just like chatting and just taking it easy, just not trying to not fall in your first mile. Like, that would be So we're having fun, exchanging stories. Everyone's excited to start, and we roll through the first 8 stations. Like, you're not gonna stop at mile 3, you just started. So we ran past that. We come into Damnation. Well, we passed you first. You were hiking out. By that time, it gets sunrise, and you can see the guys you're running with. So that's like the first lap. I ran with some people, and then some guys took off, some faster, and before I knew it, I had like the first lap was done. I was back at the start finish, and it was fun. Like there's a 3 mile out and back to the start finish, and when I was entering the start finish 3 miles, Ian Sherman came back and he was like shouted at me like, "Good work!" So like, yes, Ian Sherman says good work. That was like a happy moment. And then so I got my turnaround, got back. So for lap 1 was done, and like, okay, well, 20 miles done, like still easy. Like I just had looking at my smiley face and just thinking, okay, it's just it should always feel easy.
Yeah.
Like pace should not ever feel hard. It should always feel easy, and that's just what I kept doing, just running easy. And I came rolling back into Damnation. Yep. And you were like out there volunteering, filling water bottles. We had a good rhythm going. Yeah. I started running with 2 guys, Ryan and Jeff, and we just had fun running the Damnation loop. And before we know it, we rolled into 40 miles. And like, okay, I feel great. Yep. Lap 3 starts. I was still running with Ryan and Jeff, and back to Damnation. And really, we started walking some of the uphills at that point, but overall we still had just good pace going, good mental work going. So I came back after lap 3, and then you start feeling it. I mean, that's mile 60, so at that point I was like going further than I've ever went before. But sort of physically I was fine. Like I kept an easy pace, hovering around like 10 minutes, roughly 10-11 minutes, just losing some time with longer breaks. Well, not long, but just making a bathroom stop, like getting refuel, getting stuff out of my drop bag. But overall, I was feeling good, like nothing significantly hurt. I had some cramps here and there on like some muscles, but some stretching helped that. And then something interesting happened. So the start of lap 4, I knew I was going to see you to pace at mile 66. And I was like approaching you in the last, after the first 8, like mile 63 to 66. And I started sort of telling myself, oh, now I'm like 100k in and I've never run further than that. And everyone always talks about these like bad patches in hundreds. So I should probably get a bad stretch or a bad patch right now. And I sort of started talking myself mentally into a bad patch while physically I was fine. And I had been just running with these guys that took off now with their pacers at the start-finish line, and I had like 6 miles to get to you. So for those 6 miles, I was running by myself, and I was just sort of talking myself down. Yeah. And I really don't know why I did that, but when I got to you, I was like, oh, finally I have like a human that I can vent to. And I just started whining for no reason, and just started like talking myself really into a bad patch. I'm like, oh, Ryan, like, I don't know, like this is, I know I'll finish it, but I have no reason to push hard now, and like I always do that, like you get to 90% and then you're like, oh, I can do this, so it's like not a challenge anymore, and like I don't know why it's like gets dark and it will suck, and I sort of started talking myself down. While physically that was really, I mean, obviously things will start hurting, but I wasn't. Nutrition was fine, hydration was fine. I had like no chafing, no blisters, which is pretty. Like I was really scared for that, but nothing of that happened. So I like sort of started talking myself down, and that was weird. But then. You want me to just tell the story?
Yeah. So I'll give you a break so you can take a drink. So it's interesting because Maartje's happy. She's just a happy person in general. I mean, I'm not like it's not a lie. Like you would consider yourself to be, and I could see it when she came to me. And like she said, when you're running a race, and this has happened in other ultras I've crewed, and this happened when you paced me at Run Rabbit. Like you just start talking, and you just want to talk to someone, and you kind of just tell them how you're feeling, and it's. For me, when you did that, I just want to validate them. So you just listen. You're not like, no, you can do it. It's like sometimes you just want to listen, right? Significant other kind of thing. Like some people just want to vent, and you don't want to have the world solve. You don't want me to solve your problems. You just want to tell me how you're feeling. So from a pacing standpoint, it's something to remember. Just listen to the person and let them just go off on whatever they want to go off on. And then they kind of, sometimes they can figure it out for themselves. And so I saw Maartje going down this. I knew the loop we were going to do, the damnation kind of loop out and back, was going to be a real tough one because she had mentioned that before. But I could see that she was you were putting yourself in that place. Yeah. You were talking yourself into that. It was going to be a tough loop, and you were setting yourself up for it to be, tough. So
I was just making, because in the end, it wasn't that tough. No. It was just, because everyone was complaining about it, I just adopted the complaints.
You just like almost expected it, so it had to happen.
Everyone says it's a tough loop, so it must be a tough loop.
Yeah.
And then I sort of convinced myself it was a horrible loop.
When you showed it wouldn't be the loop, the fifth loop.
Yeah.
So we go back around.
Yeah. So what happened is I ran in I thought I was in 4th place, female, but I didn't know that Nicole dropped. So I was in 3rd for a while.
Yep.
And in my winding stretch, we walked quite a bit of uphill. So the lady in 4th overtook me. So I was in 5th.
Like out of nowhere. She just came up and we were...
came up and I was like, what the hell was that? And then it was dark. I mean, we finished the 4th loop, we get into the 5th loop, and at that point, we were like walking an uphill, and I just couldn't lift my left leg. So the course is full of roots, so you just have to for 100 miles, you're looking down on, I have no clue what the park looks like, because I've only been looking at the floor for the whole time. Do not trip. And so you have to just lift your legs. And my left leg was just, my quads were so sore, I could not, physically couldn't lift up my leg. And so I was running the flats and the downs between walking, shuffling the ups. And then we come to Damnation, which is mile 86. 86, yeah. And so we run out of Damnation for the last time, the dam loop. And then Ryan says so just shake it up, put on your music.
So I'm going to cut you there for a second. So this is from a pacing standpoint, because I think this is important in crewing. You have to understand what the pacer wants and make decisions for them that you think are going to be best. So during the loop where it started to suck, from when you picked me up 66 to the Damnation loop, you wanted me to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes talking takes energy to talk. Not for me, because I don't care, but for her to respond and answer questions about her hamsters growing up and her favorite type of thing that she's cuddled that was soft. It takes, some people like that, but it also takes mental capacity to do that.
Yeah.
And so when you wanted me to talk, we were talking, and then the conversation would just kind of stop sometimes. I'm like, okay, we need to figure out something new. So when we got to Damnation, and she had her iPod on previously in the race, I said, okay, I think she needs to get out of her head, because you told me at one time, you said, you need to get me out of my head. You said, get me out of my head, Ryan.
I asked Ryan, just talk to me, just make me not have to face my own thoughts at this point.
And I thought, okay, I'm talking, but she has to listen to me still, and there's a process.
I needed non-stop something.
Yeah, so I said, okay, go in, we're going to get to Damnation. I said, get your iPod out and put it on, and then we're going to run this loop with your iPod in, and then we'll figure it out after.
Well, you sort of said, you didn't say run it, because you didn't know if
I said put your iPod
just put
in.
your music on.
Yeah, put your music on.
So I put my music on, and that was like mile 86, and something flipped, and I was like, okay, I have a choice now. I can go on in this pace we are doing in the shuffle walk, and just I knew at that point we had like 7 hours or so to finish, still in like under 24. So we had plenty time to finish in the big belt with the under 24 buckle.
Yeah.
So I knew like I was gonna finish it, and I was gonna do fine either way.
Under 24 and under 30 have different buckles.
So like the under 24 was definitely happening no matter what.
We would have had to have crawled.
Yeah. And but then I had like, I can do that, or I can feel really proud of myself tomorrow and just try to push it to as far as I can and just go for it. And sort of in the back of my mind, I had been like watching way too many YouTube trail run movies and ginger runner episodes and whatever, and like one thing that stuck in my head was like the Western States from Sally McRae, where she just raced her ass off to get 10th female in Western. And I'm like, I always wondered, like, how can someone run 80 miles and then race the last 20? Like, how can you physically do that? And I was there like now at 86 miles, and I made
sixth place.
In sixth place. Well, I didn't know that at that point, and I was like,
I knew.
Oh yeah, I
didn't tell her.
Well, I knew I was past.
Yeah,
so I thought I was like, I must have been sixth.
But you weren't thinking about it.
I wasn't thinking about place at all, and I'm like, let's just do this.
Yeah.
Let's just go. And I started running, and I felt great suddenly. Like somehow, mentally, I blocked out all the pain I was feeling, and we started running, and it just, I got into this aggressive, like just focused, obsessed running, and it was gone. It was on. It was race. So first I thought, oh, I'll just run to the timing mat, which is like 2 miles.
Yeah. At that point. Yeah.
At that point, so I run that, and I cross the timing mat, and I walk like 5 steps, and I'm like, I feel crap walking. I just start running. So, but I have my music in, so we are like silent. Like there's no talking.
I'm just behind her about 5 feet on her side.
Yeah, and we were running like probably like a 10-minute pace or faster.
Yeah.
And in the dark in the route, so that's like, it's always tricky to run.
And at night now it's midnight at this point.
Yeah.
A little before midnight.
Yeah.
Or a little around. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like got this energy from out of nowhere, and suddenly I'm like, I'm just gonna race this. Like we're gonna go hard, and we start passing people that are like struggling, and because that's the dam loop, and everyone's struggling in the dam loop, and we come like sneak up on all these people out of nowhere, and they're like, what the fuck is that? Like what's happening here? What did she just eat, or like whatever?
She passed the 5th place girl, and literally the 5th place girl fell over. We let the quiet storm. We just popped up on him around the corner. They were like, and the girl fell over. She was okay.
The other thing is like, I had like, if you pass someone late in a race, you're not passing them unless they're walking. They see you're weak.
Yep.
You're passing them and you get out of sight.
Yep.
So I always just had to like pass them and run hard. So whoever I passed, because you don't know who's in which loop and who, like, if it's a female, you even if it's a pacer female, I didn't know who it was at that point.
You don't know who's pacing who, because people have their bibs kind of covered, their jackets on, and stuff.
So I was just, whoever I was passing, I just sort of got extra energy out of that. So we were going faster, and for my feeling, faster and faster. And then, so in the dam loop, there is this like sharp right turn that loops them back to the out and back.
The new section because of the construction.
And it has like an uphill wooden bridge, and we've always walked that. And this time I was like, I can just run this. I'll just run this. So I ran that, and Ryan was behind me, and he's like, oh my god, she's serious.
That's when I knew it was on. I knew we had, from there, probably about 8.5 miles or so. 7 from Dead Nation now, so it's probably about 8.5 miles, 9 miles. And when she took off up that hill, I'm like, it's on, and I'm thinking, okay, she's got to catch one or two more. I didn't know where third place was. Yeah. I'm like, she can probably catch the girl in fourth.
Yeah.
And there were two guys in front that she basically just passed like they were standing still.
Yeah.
And at that point, we didn't say a word for that whole loop, and I just knew it was on. Like, that's when I knew she loves to run and she smiles, but when it comes push to shove, she's a competitor, and the competitor part came out, and you were ready to run and race.
So the thing is, like, I mentally decided to race, but physically I was able to because of my training. So it's a combination. So
remember that.
What we did, Ryan had set up shop at Damnation. So to be able to run to the finish with me, he had to drop his stuff in my drop bag so that the drop bag would go to the finish line the day after.
So I didn't have to go back that night and clean it up.
So with like a mile to go to the aid station, I tell to Ryan, like, okay, go ahead, get your stuff sorted out so that when I come in, we can go. And apparently I ran so fast that I didn't really get Ryan a lot of
I had about 5 minutes maybe to get everything ready. Take down a hammock, put it all, throw stuff out.
Which was not enough. So I come in, and at that point, I see some ladies there, but I don't know which place they are. But I'm like, no, I have to go. So I'm like, Ryan, give me my drink, give me a cookie, give me water. And Ryan is like just throwing his whole bag like all over. It was like a gigantic mess.
You had to find your headlamp. It was buried somewhere.
Give my headlamp, give it. And I was like, wow. He just throws everything out. And I'm like, you deal with that. Like, I go.
I was afraid that stopping was going to make her lose the mojo that she had. So I just threw stuff everywhere, sent her, and just said, go, and I'll catch you. Not knowing that I thought I might not be able to catch her at that point because it was going to take me 5 minutes to pick everything up.
So from there, it's 7.5 miles to the finish, and it's first the long park road, which has like ups and downs. And good thing for Ryan is it started the uphill out of the aid station, and I was running it, but not. I was thinking by myself, I'm not going to slow down for Ryan. Sorry for that.
No.
I was like, he's either gonna catch me, or if he's not, he's probably gonna find a way to go to the finish and find me somewhere. So I was like, I can deal with myself. I'm just gonna keep running. So after a while, I hear like someone really breathing like loudly back to me, and like Ryan comes like, I'm here, okay.
So like 5 minutes after she left, I like threw the hammer down and chased her. I don't even know how fast I was running up the hills, but I ended up catching her. I was very excited about that.
So we were together back. So we keep running, and there's this guy in front of me. He was there then, right? Like
you caught him on the climb, on the wooden bridge climb. You first caught him there.
Was that the same guy?
You passed the tall guy, and then you and the guy in the orange started doing this on the wooden bridge climb. So, but that's when you first saw him. But then at the aid station, he took off way early. He didn't even really stop.
Then I think that's where. Oh no, I saw him after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he took off in front of you, and then you caught him again. Yeah. And then that's when you guys started playing leapfrog.
So we run this long road into the last aid station, and we come running in the last aid station, and Ryan thinks, oh, we'll get a cup of noodles, we get some warm food, and I cross the road into the aid station. I stop, I look up, and I see the girl who is in fourth, who is in fourth place, and I down a cup of ginger ale, and Ryan we go. It was race. We were in a battle. And Ryan was like, oh, okay.
I thought we were going to have a couple of noodles or something. And at that point, it was mile 31 for me. And Maartje was tired. I was tired because that was the longest I've run in a while. So know that you have to be in shape for the person you're pacing. And I was afraid she was going to drop me out of the aid station. But somehow I hung on to her back wheel.
Yeah, so I spent 5 seconds at the aid station. I downed a cup and I'm like, I don't care. It's 4 miles to the finish. I skipped food now. Like, I've been hydrating and eating very well during the race, so I knew I could just like rally it out without food. And I look into the girl's face and like, okay, we have to go. And so I take off, and Ryan is like struggling to keep up. And at that point, there's this guy in front of me that I'm just sort of unintentionally chasing. But and whenever he felt I was coming close, he would like surge. And I would just keep running a steady but fast pace, and then he would drop his pace, and then I would like come close, and he would surge, and like he sort of kept pulling.
For 3 miles, pretty much.
Yeah. And then I was like, but every time I looked back twice and I saw some lights and I was like, oh, that's the girl. I was like, she's gonna catch me. Like, I have to keep running. I have to go fast and run. And in hindsight, that wasn't true, but like that was in my mind, and I was like, we have to keep running. Like, we have to just run. And so then we hit the 3 mile, the long out and back, and I've done that. That's just like the 10th time I was like on that section at that day at that time, and so you know it by heart. And I know it's pretty run. It goes up and down a lot, but it's pretty runnable. Yeah. And I think I didn't walk any of that. I just ran the whole thing. And the same guy was just doing a stupid search thing. And with like half a mile to go, you enter, the trail is parallel to the park road, and there's this one nasty short but steep uphill. And after that it's just down, and there's a road crossing, and then you see the finish. Yeah. At that point, I'm next to the guy, and I take like an inside curve.
Yeah, he swung wide around the tree.
Around the tree, and I went inside, and then it's directly just uphill. So I went inside, and I've been walking that uphill all the laps, except from the first one probably. And I sort of got in my head, oh, let's do a hill repeat, and I just ran fast up that. Like I just hooked my arms, high knees, raced up that hill. And then Ryan, like the guy dropped. She's like, what is she doing? And Ryan's like, come on, like help, like go. And he's like, ooh.
Yeah, he was petrified after she came up. I was trying to encourage him, like she pulled, like in cycling, like you get someone in front and they